and it is time to talk about my favorites of February 2018. So to start off, we're going to talk about movies, and I saw 3 movies this month. So the first movie I saw this month was Black Panther, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this movie, and what I loved about it the most is it didn't feel like a Marvel movie to me, and I loved the world building of Wakanda and all the characters we were introduced and seeing their dynamics and everything. I will admit, the reason why I didn't give this a 5 was because I felt like there's some pacing issues in the film, and also even though I loved Killmonger, the villain, and I thought he was a strong villain, I felt like he wasn't used as much as I would prefer, but to me, I felt like while Killmonger was strong, I wanted him to be even stronger, with him being even more fleshed out and more used than he was in the movie. I just didn't like how quick the ending felt and how it felt rushed to me. Like I said, that also has to do with pacing issues. But overall, it was still an amazing film. I cannot wait for it to come out on Blu-ray and DVD so I can watch it again. It felt fresh to me. Everything about the Black Panther movie felt fresh to me compared to what we usually get with Marvel movies. I just love the world of Wakanda, the people of it. I just want to watch more movies about Wakanda and learn more about this world. The next movie I watched was Dunkirk, which was a movie I had heard a lot about but I hadn't seen. And I really enjoyed Dunkirk. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought the movie was beautifully directed. The cinematography in this is stunning. The reason why I didn't give this 5 is because of the different kind of timelines. There's 3 different timelines, and I didn't realize that at first. And so when a scene happened with one character and it was daytime and then it flipped back to another character and it was night, I was very confused of what was going on. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't give this a full 5, was because that different kind of timelines confused me. Also, I did think there was a couple parts where it got a little slow and I did lose a little bit of interest, but it was able to pick back up and bring me back. But yeah, but I would highly recommend Dunkirk. It's so freaking good. And then the last movie I saw in February is one that I had heard so many mixed things. Some people said it was the best movie ever made. Some were saying it was garbage, burn it with fire. And I needed to see it so I can form my own opinion. And that movie is Mother. So, what did I think about Mother? I really enjoyed Mother. I totally understand how people could say this is a garbage film. I understand that because first of all, this did not need to be a 2-hour movie. It just did not. While it is shot beautifully and the cinematography is gorgeous, there are just some scenes with Jennifer Lawrence just walking around the house. I'm like, we could have cut this for time. I gave this 4 stars because while I had the issues with, the length, also, there was 2 key scenes near the end that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil, but they disturbed me and made me a little uncomfortable, so I was like, I could do without this. I understood the purpose of it in the film, but I didn't want to see it. I would recommend watching Mother for you to form your own opinion. Basically how I would go with it. There is some graphic stuff. It is a bit disturbing. In the beginning, it's quite slow, but this is one of those movies where I don't think you can totally judge based off other people's opinions. This is one you have to watch and form your own opinion about. Now, let's move on to TV shows. So, I watched 3 shows for the first time, and I started rewatching a show that I haven't watched in a while. So, the first show that I started watching this month was The Punisher, which I know you're like, Brittany, what? You haven't watched The Punisher yet? I know. Please don't yell at me. Well, see, when the show premiered in November, I watched the first episode with my brother, but then, life got in the way. And so finally this month, me and my brother had some downtime, and we're like, we need to watch some more Punisher. Now we have 4 episodes left. I haven't finished it yet. But, it is so good. I love this show so much. Jon Bernthal is the perfect Frank Castle. He's just perfect. I love the development of Frank's character in Punisher, and I can't wait to finish the season to see how it all wraps up. But I also loved the new characters we got. I loved Micro. His dynamic with Frank is so fun to watch. Like I said, I haven't finished the first season, but from what I've seen so far, I love the first season of The Punisher. The next show I started watching last month is Lucifer. I'm so happy. I did not know one of my best friends, she had the first season, and I didn't know she did, and I was looking through her DVDs, and I was like, oh my god, you have the first season of Lucifer? She goes, yeah, you can check it. You can borrow it. I'm like, yay! This is another one I haven't finished. I have like one disc left. I'm almost done. And I love Lucifer Morningstar. He's so good. And the actor who plays him is amazing. I also really love Chloe, and I love her dynamic with Lucifer. I totally already ship it. Don't know if it'll happen. But I just think it's just so fun to watch them interact. And I also love her little girl. She's adorable. And I also love her dynamic with Lucifer. It's really cute. All the characters together, it's just so good. Oh, I hate myself for waiting so long to watch this, but I'm so glad I finally did. The next show I started watching is actually, I started watching it near the end of February, so I'm only like 4 episodes in, but I decided so we're going to keep this short and sweet because I don't know a lot about it. But I started finally watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's ridiculous fun. Ridiculous fun. So far, my favorite characters are the Captain Holt, I believe his name is, and Detective Diaz. Those two are my favorites right now. And like I said, I've only watched the first 4 episodes, so I can't really say a whole lot, but it's very funny. I totally get why everyone loves it. I totally hate myself for taking so long to watch it, but you know, better late than never. But I can't wait to watch more of it. It's really good. And then the last show is technically a rewatch, because recently I started rewatching Switched at Birth on Netflix. And if you don't know, Switched at Birth is an ABC Family show that ended. But it's basically about these 2 girls, Bay and Daphne, who find out when they're like 16 that apparently they were switched at birth. So Bay's family, the Kenishes, their biological daughter is Daphne, and Regina Vasquez, her biological daughter is technically Bay, but they got switched at birth. And also, Daphne is deaf, so there's a lot of sign language and issues about being deaf, and like you learn about the deaf community in Switched at Birth, which I really love. But yeah, so I had thought I'd seen the whole first season. Apparently I hadn't. I'd only seen like half of the first season. So it's been really fun for me to rewatch this show that I really enjoyed. I'm trying to get it finished on Netflix because I don't want to put it off and then it be taken, like Netflix removes it from the streaming service, because that's what they did with Chasing Life. I wanted to finish Chasing Life and then it was just gone off Netflix and I was depressed. So I'm trying to marathon through it. Right now I'm like, I think halfway through season 2, so I can't wait to finish Switched at Birth. And the last thing we're going to talk about is music. So I listened to 5 albums this month, but technically 3 new artists. And these are artists that I'd heard about, but I'd never actually given their music a chance, and this month that changed, so let's get into it. The first artist I'm going to talk about is BB Rexa, which I hope I pronounced her name right. I listened to All Your Fault Part 1, All Your Fault Part 2. I will admit, I did like All Your Fault Part 1 a little more than All Your Fault Part 2. I just thought the songs on the first part were a lot stronger than the songs on the second part, but that's just me. I really love BB Rexha's sound. She definitely has her own distinctive voice. I loved every song on All Your Fault Part 1. Every single one was so strong. My favorite, like absolute favorite, would probably be Atmosphere. I really, really loved Atmosphere. I feel like one of my issues with All Your Fault Part 2 is it's so feature heavy, and I'm not a big fan of features unless they're done really well. And I just didn't like a lot of them on this album. I really don't like That's It. The Way I Are Dance With Somebody, I felt like would have been just fine. I don't think you need a Lil Wayne on that track. I love I Got Time. That's probably my favorite one on the album. Comfortable featuring Cranium wasn't a bad feature, but I wasn't in love with it. And Meant to Be with Florida Georgia Line, I'm not a big fan of Florida Georgia Line, but I didn't think it was a bad feature. I just didn't think they were necessary. So yeah, I think my biggest issue with All Your Fault Part 2 is it's just too feature heavy. I feel like BB didn't need it. She's so strong on her own, which I think she showcased in All Your Fault Part 1 because she just had 2 features. I feel like the features on All Your Fault Part 2 really weakened the album for me, which is probably why I don't love it as much as Part 1. But I still really enjoyed discovering BB Rexa. I'm excited to see more of her music. I think she's a really strong artist. Then the next artist I gave a listen to was Zara Larsson, and who I realized I actually did know who she was. I'd heard her song Uncover, which I really liked, but I hadn't listened to like a full album. I checked out her album So Good, which is so good. There's 15 songs total, I believe. Let me check real quick. Yes, 15 songs total. I really enjoyed all of them. I think my favorite, I really, really love TG4M. I think that's a really strong song. I loved I Would Like and Lush Life. I think the only song I wasn't a huge fan of was Sundown. Just something about that one didn't click with me. I kind of would skip it a lot, so that's unfortunate. But overall, this is a really strong album that I'm like, I need to listen to this constantly because it's so freaking good. So yeah, if you haven't given Zara Larsson a chance, I highly recommend Zara. She's got a great voice. The next artist I want to talk about, and the last one, and these are the last 2 albums, they're both by B. Miller, who I'd heard about but never gave her a listen to. So the first album I'm going to talk about is Not an Apology, which she released in 2015. And this is such a fun album. There's 11 songs on this album. My favorite off of it would probably be Paper Doll and I Dare You. I'd say the only weak song to me probably would be Rich Kids. I didn't really... It's an okay song, but I wasn't in love with it. I think this is a really good introduction to B. Miller as a singer. And then I gave a listen to her most recent album, Aurora, which she released, I think she released it February 23rd. And what I found so fascinating about Aurora compared to Not an Apology is the contrast in sound. Like, Aurora sounds so much more pop influenced to me, whereas Not an Apology was a lot more rock influenced. Which, if I'm being honest, I think for me, I prefer the rock elements more on Not an Apology. I think I like the way her voice sounds with those rock elements a little more than the pop elements that are in Aurora. But I like the lyrics and what the songs were saying more in Aurora than Not an Apology. But I just love how much lyrically her songs grew, which is I think one of the things I like most about hearing these albums back to back is just hearing the development in her lyrics. Some of my favorite songs on Aurora, favorites are To the Grave Slut, Like That, I Can't Breathe, Mother Love, and Burning Bridges. My least favorite song would probably be Buy Me Diamonds and Warmer. I wasn't a huge fan of Buy Me Diamonds or Warmer, but I really, really liked this album as a whole. So, those were my favorites. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Until next time, bye guys!